Okay, it's an honor to have this special guest here on the podcast today, and also for you watching on YouTube. And this is Philip Jepsen. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And before we start going into the really juicy parts here about Amazon, since we have a lot of listeners in the Nordic region, you actually originally come from Scandinavia. Would you just give us a little bit about your background and where you were born and how you ended up in the United States?
Certainly. Well, I lived in Denmark, well, most of the time till I was 18. So I grew up, in Denmark, born in Aarhus, on the west side of Denmark, but lived everywhere and lived, traveled a lot. I lived in Egypt and Lebanon for about a year in all of that. But and then I went to England in when I was 18. And was there for a few years, and then came to the US. And so I lived pretty much all over the US as well. So I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
But Scandinavia's home, and I know it well and love it.
Yes. Okay. And that's good. And also one thing that I think we have to mention, because I loved it so much, is you created a beautiful book. Can you just say a few words about your book?
Well, okay, yeah. So I think back in just before I got started with Amazon, I was kind of looking for a hobby, and so I'm from Denmark. We have the Little Mermaid, and I kind of I ran into a mermaid in Iowa, which is very far from any ocean at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, why is there one here? And then I started doing some research, and I ended up just knowing far more about mermaid statues around the world than anybody else, and wrote a 200-page, coffee table book, like big format book with lots of photos and history, because there was mermaids in every single culture. So yeah, that's a complete side hobby from everything else we're talking about.
Yes, but I want to mention so everybody, that's a beautiful book. Search for it. Is it still on Amazon?
It's still on Amazon. It's called Mermaids of Earth. Yeah.
Mermaids of Earth. I highly recommend that book. It's beautiful. All right. So so let's start. So why did you start selling on Amazon? What caught your interest and got you into the Amazon here?
I had done my own businesses before, so I've done entrepreneurship a number of times, and I love having my own business. And in 2013, I had quit another job. I just said, okay, I don't want to work for somebody else. I actually want to build my own business again. And so I was looking around for something, and a good friend of mine from 20 years ago or 20 years prior, said, hey, I'm selling on Amazon. I'm making good money. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm looking for something, and this actually sounds like it might be worthwhile. And I took a gamble, and my wife pretty much was ready to shoot me for wasting money on training on how to do Amazon, but pretty soon that was going really well, and I had a lot of success with it.
And we're going to talk about your success. So when would you say, when did you really see the potential of Amazon after you started?
I think I was probably about 4 or 5 weeks into the training. I did things that maybe a little bit different than most guys who are exposed to training. I just decided to move incredibly fast and learn from my mistakes very rapidly. So I got involved with something called the Amazing Selling Machine, and it was very thorough training on how to set up an Amazon account and pick a product and how to get it live and how to market it and all of that. And I was 4 weeks into that. I already had my first product live on Amazon. And I did everything I could to just move incredibly fast. And the first product never did a lot. I mean, it was profitable, but very little. But it taught me the entire process, and I knew what to do now. And then I had a little bit of experience, and then I picked my second product, and did incredibly well with it. And I kind of went from zero to doing $100,000 a month 9 months after I started.
Wow.
So that was it was a rapid ramp up, and
Yeah.
very exciting. I worked hard. I was doing probably 80 hours a week of
Wow.
doing this. It was definitely not a relaxed thing,
No.
but I was very determined, and
Yeah.
I really wanted to make it work.
Well, so those 80 hours, they really paid off. If you, I mean, reached more than 100K in 9 months, that's very fast. So well done. So many talk about the first $1 million. It's like some sort of magic numbers for Amazon sellers. How long did it take until you reached that number from when you started selling, would you say, approximately?
You talk about the first $1 million worth of revenue of sales.
Yes.
Well, it was probably I don't know, 14, 16 months, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I mean, on when you talk to other Amazon sellers, in the beginning, it's all about the revenue. It's how much you're selling, right?
Yes.
And then you get a little bit more experience, and then you realize, okay, it's not really about the revenue. It's how much of that do you keep as profit?
Yes.
And that's it's always a drastically different number.
Yeah.
And but in the end, that's what's important, right?
Yes. And that actually keeps me going to the next question. I mean, you already start bringing it up here, but what would you say for an Amazon seller to really succeed on Amazon? What would you say are the key factors?
I would say probably the most important one is persistence, or being stubborn, being determined.
Yeah.
You want to make this work no matter what. Kind of like there was kind of a slogan that Amazing Selling Machine had, was no plan B, which basically means I'm going to make this work, and I don't have another safety net. I don't have something to fall back on. This is going to work, right?
Yeah.
And if you kind of approach it that way, then you will do whatever it takes to make it work. And that's part of it, because no matter what, there's going to be competition out there. There's going to be other people. There's going to be problems that you run into that are unexpected, and you need to have the energy and the determination to just overcome those obstacles. So that's the first one. But I would say also you need to have a system, something that you follow, and then you need to really know what your numbers are. You need to keep track. You can scale up rapidly, and I've seen people do this where they sell an enormous amount of stuff very rapidly, but they're losing money on every single sale. And I mean, you can't do that for very long, because you run out of money, right? So you have to understand, what are the Amazon's fees? What are the storage fees? What is your cost of goods? What does it cost to ship it from wherever you're getting it? And and what are your own overhead costs? And so at the end of it, you had to go, okay, so I sold $100,000 worth of stuff, and I get to keep $20,000. Okay, I mean, $20,000 a month is nothing to sneeze at. And if you can get to that, then you can use that. I mean, you don't want to go spend it on expensive cars and stuff like that. You want to go, how do I use this $20,000 to expand the business even further, right? And obviously, you're going to keep something for yourself. You're going to keep something for your family and for your lifestyle. But you always need to be conscious of, how can you expand the business? And knowing your numbers is a key part of that.
Yes. So, and you're so right with that. And I've had a lot of Amazon sellers that did not invest so much in the business, but they got caught a little bit too much in the lifestyle, because as an Amazon seller, you can practically live and work from wherever you are. And then since that lifestyle costed too much, they put too little in the business. So I hear you. So with that said, you're talking about the numbers and how important they are, and I can't agree more. You somewhere in your success on Amazon started to diversify, and also now are actually helping other sellers on Amazon to succeed, thanks to Managed by Stats. Would you like to tell a little bit, how did you end up in this position? And after that, what does Managed by Stats do for the sellers?
Sure. So when I first got started, I went out to one of the big events, and there was about 3,000 people there, and they were mostly new people like me. And I picked 9 good friends that people that I made friendships with,
Yeah.
and we decided to just do kind of a mastermind where we would meet once a week for maybe an hour and just kind of discuss and help each others and stuff like that. And we did that for probably 5 years. But within the first year or so of that, we kind of realized that we needed to know more about the numbers,
Yeah.
and we realized that keeping track of everything in spreadsheets was very time consuming. And I had several partners. I had by then I had 3 or 4 brands
Okay.
with different partners in each brand, right? So I needed to be able to figure out how much was the profit for this
Yeah.
brand, how much was the profit here, and figure out where did the money go, and
Yeah.
how did I split the money. And that was just very hard to do in Excel. I mean, you can do it, but it takes hours and hours.
Yeah.
And I knew enough about programming to kind of be dangerous. And so I kind of put something together in a database format where you could download the data from Amazon, and it was much faster and far more accurate. And so I did that, and then everybody in my mastermind, of course, they wanted to have access to this, and then their friends wanted to have access to it, and then so that's kind of where I went. Okay, now I need to get this developed professionally.
Yeah.
And so I went to a good friend of mine in Europe, in Czech Republic,
Yeah.
and so he helped me get it professionally programmed and all of that. And that was the beginning of Managed by Stats, and that was back in the beginning of 2015.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we just kept expanding that with new tools and more accurate things. And as Amazon developed and make new data and metrics
Yeah.
available, we kept just evolving it. So
Yeah.
now we have thousands of people that are using Managed by Stats, and and it gives them their numbers, and it helps them zero in on the exact part of the business that needs their attention.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And a little anecdote about Managed by Stats. I think this was 2016, when you still could get the addresses right to the customers.
Yes.
So we pulled that from Managed by Stats, and we created beautiful Christmas cards to send before Christmas. With if you missed your last gift, here's a gift card, and you can buy all these amazing gifts on Amazon. And that was actually one of our best campaigns, I think.
Yeah.
Because I also don't think there is not so many physical postcards sent anymore. So that was also a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, the marketing aspects and the things you can do, it really is the key part of this business. I mean, one thing is finding a product, getting it and keeping it in stock. But once you do that, Amazon handles all the fulfillment. So really, for us as Amazon sellers, it really is a marketing business.
Absolutely, 100%. So, and you, we have the honor actually to have you on stage on AMA Nordic. And I mean, what will you talk about? What's your subject?
My subject is going to be what we call KPIs, or key performance indicators, and really that's the way to very rapidly zero in on what's working and what's not working, and what do you need to keep an eye on, what do you need to address, and we kind of over the years we zeroed in on just 4 metrics, 4 numbers, 4 graphs, statistics that if those are doing good, then everything is fine, and if they're not doing good, or if one of them is not doing so great, then it's an early warning sign, and then you can dive in and you have a very specific checklist of if this key performance indicator is not doing great, these are the things to look at and figure out what is it that's broken here, what's not working well, and then you can fix that before it becomes a big problem, right? And it simplifies things, because instead of looking at hundreds of different metrics, which you can't do every day, I mean, you can't span your attention. So the computer looks at all of that stuff, and it gives you those 4 key metrics. and then, you know, understanding how they relate to everything else in the business and to all the other metrics. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about. So you can, you know, it gives you a very clear and easy way to look at your business and know what to do.
Okay, that's wonderful. So the attendees that comes to listen to you, and also of course the ones that will watch you digital, what is the keys that they will bring back from listening to you to stage? I mean, how can they implement it, and what result could you expect with this?
Well, the result is clarity on what to look for, because Amazon gives you many metrics, right?
Yeah.
And MBS gives you many metrics, and no matter what tool you get out there, you're going to have a lot of metrics. This will give you a lot of clarity on exactly how to kind of cut through the noise and look at the absolute, you know, just four numbers or four metrics that are super important. And also you'll come away with the checklists for, you know, if the profit's hurting a little bit, you know, your sales may be doing great and your conversions may be doing great, but profit is, you know, hurting, then you know exactly what to look for. This is the checklist. These are the different things you should check to see what is affecting your profit, right? Or if you know, if you're not getting enough people looking at your listing, right, now you're kind of on the marketing side, and you know, now these are all the things to look at for that, right? So it gives you just, it's almost like a crystal ball. You can look at the business, you can see exactly what, you know, is doing great that you should reinforce, or what is, you know, dropping off that you need to fix.
That's wonderful. I think that's super helpful, because when I'm in the different networks here in the Nordic countries, one of the things people ask for, of course, is clarity, because as you said yourself, there is so much to look at. There is so many different data and numbers that you can actually look at, but people need clarity. So, I mean, that's amazing. All right, perfect. So we just want to tell you that we are super excited to have you, and thank you for your time. And once again, everybody who sells on Amazon or who want to start selling on Amazon, you have to come and watch Philip, because what you will learn is clarity. You will, as he said, you will get a crystal ball, and that's something you need if you want to succeed on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to be there. See you again in person, and visit Sweden and Denmark, and, you know, be back home.
Wonderful. Thank you, Philip.
My pleasure.